I would have the best speeches, but I'll be like,
I get that. I get that. Okay. How do you, okay.
alright, so hello everybody, I'm back. I got my guest, Darlene. Can you introduce yourself?
I'm Darlene. I'm friends with George from high school.
Today I wanted to talk about something that's been going on lately, and it's basically the Black Lives Matter movement. I know maybe we're not the most qualified to talk about it, and I did invite some other friends who are black, but unfortunately, due to the circumstances, they couldn't come. And I feel like that's pretty messed up that they're scared to come out, even to do a podcast, which is one of the reasons that I want to talk about it even further. And I feel like out of my friends, the person that I trusted the most with this topic was Darlene. So, do you want to give like basically how do you feel about everything that's going on regarding the movement, how everything evolved, what happened, and your reaction to it?
I've always been someone, I feel like, wanting to advocate for minorities. I've just always had trouble knowing how or knowing how to get involved. And then recently, like this movement and the knowing about what's happening, it's really enraging. I've always This has been happening for a really long time. We've seen videos of cops shoot people because they've mistaken people, taking out their license for holding a weapon. So I'm glad that this is finally like being seen. It's finally seen by celebrities, and it's finally being advocated by a lot of people. So I'm for it. George Floyd was murdered, and that is a fact. Do you agree?
I mean, yeah, that's what's the most messed up thing about it, is that he was murdered, and then there was evidence. There were multiple videos. There was security cameras videos, and they still didn't arrest the guy. And it took days for it to happen. There were people outside his house demanding for the arrest, and the mayor called for the arrest. Governor called for the arrest, and even the president. That's kind of controversial. He maybe wants the votes, but he asked for the arrest, and they were still not arresting him, which was pretty messed up. I feel like the African American community and the black community were not being listened to. And in some way, in the protest, like the protesting, I do agree that something had to be done. Because, I mean, it's obvious that they weren't listening to them. They were asking for an arrest, they were asking for an explanation what happened, and nobody was giving anything to them. So I feel like I can't blame them for anything that's going on. I can't blame anybody with how they reacted for what's going on as well.
Yeah, like the protest started in order because no arrests have been made, no charges have been made. Even some people right now think the allegations and like aren't far enough. Like third degree murder, they think it should be worse. And people are finally gathering all over the cities, all over the country, and protesting. And I feel like what a lot of people don't see is a lot of people, when they start protesting, it's very peaceful. People want to march. People want their voices heard. I had many friends in the protest. I personally wish I could have joined, but I have work soon and I can't risk getting the virus, especially since it's still very prevalent in these times. But you see videos all over the place where police start hitting the civilians first. People, they start hitting them with batons. They're pulling them from the floor with no causation, which when people say police aren't violent, it's I see that and I don't understand. Especially then they start the violence. You know, rioters are given violence and then that's how they respond. Like you're not, if they hit you, you're not gonna respond hitting them back by like staying silent, which is also controversial. So a lot of people say if they become violent, stay at peace. They, you know, Martin Luther King, they didn't use violence, but they are frustrated. They are frustrated, and white people and other people are saying, "Don't fight back," but you cannot tell them how to react. They're reacting because they've suffered hundreds of years of violence. They have been put through pain, so they're reacting the way they want to react. They'll react how they think it's going to make a difference, and it's blowing up. So I think it is making a difference. The only thing I don't like is media is not covering it. CNN, Fox, you see the news that they're showing, and it's the rioters are being violent, they're breaking everything, and then just making everything in a negative connotation when this is such a beautiful thing. I think it's a great thing. The yeah, the protesting, the people joining, white people coming, people of different colors joining these protests and standing together. And you see them on TikTok, you see them on Facebook and on Twitter. But that's the youth. That's the youth spreading the media. And elderly are not getting that perspective because they're only watching news that's on TV, which is skewed to it's skewed to show one perspective and not all of it, which keeps people close-minded. Which that's why it's really important to talk to your parents. We have to tell our parents, no, this is not what's happening here. Let's show you this another perspective, which I think should be done by us because our parents don't know any better, especially Hispanic parents. Been they've had this mindset of like ignorance that they just are so hard-headed, and it's us to teach them to be more open-minded.
Yeah, and building onto what you said about the media, one thing that bothers me the most. So I'm a guy like most of the people that I went to high school know. Like I'm always like, oh, like Blue Lives Matter type of guy, you know. And but this time I was like, yo, like that was really messed up. Like they actually did go too far for the first time, and like there's been protesting since I can remember about the same thing, like police brutality and black people not being heard. But this time I was like, it's enough, you know, like there's been enough protesting, there's been enough activism going on for them to start listening to them and actually like give them an explanation of what's going on. I was like, all right, that's enough. And for the president to not come out and make a statement, make a speech instead of hiding in a bunker, like that's pretty messed up. And going back to media, like I find it really messed up that both sides of the media, like maybe conservative media, liberal media, and like just every media in general is like choosing their side, you know. They're like, oh, but look at what the cops did, and that provoked them. Or look at the protesters did. The cops were just standing there and they started throwing things. Like they both want to like show a side to the story to build on their agenda and get views and likes. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
So why not actually focus on the issue? Like why is the media not focusing on the issue? And that's what's like getting me even more mad. Like instead of listening to the black people, being there for them and showing support, they want to build on their agenda. And like I don't know, I feel like that's something really messed up to do in situations like these. That it's not time for you to prove yourself right or wrong. It's a time to show that black people are still being oppressed.
Yeah, and it's for the black community. Like they aren't being heard. They want like the reason for protests is to get media attention, but for people to vote, for people to see, and then for President Trump to not acknowledge that these protesters are being peaceful, that these protesters are doing this for a reason, is very contradicting when he had white people protesting because they didn't want to wear face masks because of the virus, because they wanted a haircut. You see pictures of white people with their rifles pushing cops like in their face, like pushing them, shoving them, and the white cops are just there, just like letting them be pushed, just standing and not doing anything. And that's what I find so enraging. The protesters are walking, they're not pushing, maybe sometimes, but you see most occasions they are not doing anything. There's just a lot of them, and then tear gases come, and then plastic bullets come, and then the batons come, the heart sticks, whatever they're called, but they're not pushing. And that's what I find just enraging, because it is because they're black. It is, or maybe some people might say it's because different cops in different states work differently, but I just think that's BS. I do not think that's true. I think it's the matter of the fact that white people, they think that white people have rights, or that they know white people, they feel powerful. Oh, yeah, his neighbors are white. Whatever, they'll come over here, join the podcast. How do you say, they know they have power, and then the white people know the cops know they have power, so they're afraid to touch them. But they see brown people or they see black people as weak or as not human or as less than, that they don't care. Like they don't have to have a cause. They don't have to have a cause to punish them or to hurt them, which you see the divide. Like people who say privilege doesn't exist for white people, they're either ignorant or they're willing to they're okay with it, or they can't reason in their head because they're not educated. And that's how you see most people like who are racist are like the lower white class who are like aren't educated. So I just think
Yeah, but in the case of the cops, like just throwing it out there like a hypothetical, how do you distinguish the protesters when it's like the peaceful ones, and then you got the ones breaking the windows, like burning the cars, like, and you're at the moment, and how is a cop gonna distinguish like, oh, I gotta be peaceful to this guy, but I actually gotta get this guy in his place? Like, how does a cop distinguish? Don't you think maybe that's the reason they're like sometimes just pushing the protesters out of the way?
because
Cause
they're afraid that the others will hurt them.
good point. No, I mean yeah, but at the same time, it's just I don't know. I feel like we also gotta, at least in my point of view, like obviously what's going on is not right, but I like to think both sides of the story. Cause like, what do you put yourselves in the cops' boots? You know?
Yeah, I'm sure they're scared. They're surrounded by thousands of people who one might have a weapon, who one might, be dangerous. So I understand they're scared. It might be scared, but in the videos you see them pushing people who are not pushing. There was this one video, this guy was trying to pick up his phone. A cop grabbed him, yanked him, and just started beating on him. And I get not all cops are like that. You see cops like joining the protesters, and I don't think all cops are like that. But the foundation of cops started, at least I think, maybe someone fact check me, but cops started as someone who were like capturing slaves. I don't know. The system I think is bad. The system of cops and entirety. I know it's to keep people safe from criminals and robberies, but for years now they have shown violence towards minorities and not white people. So when you say like, yeah, like look at the cops' perspective, I understand they're human. I understand they have feelings and they have flaws, but this is their job and they need to know how to do their job correctly. A doctor does their job correctly. They go through all this time to get qualified, to learn how to do their job properly. For a cop to shoot someone, you know how they say like, oh, they're scared because we don't know it's a weapon? That shows they are not doing their job properly. They were not taught well. They're weak. They can't separate prejudice, which I know everybody has stereotypes. They think, but if they cannot separate them from their job, because that is their job, the duty is to protect, then they shouldn't have that job.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, like if you're a cop and you involve your political views with your job, like at that point you're not qualified to be a cop.
Exactly.
Like at that point you're already messed up in your head, and like one or not, unconsciously you're gonna choose sides when it comes to doing your job. It's like, oh, maybe this guy looks suspicious, like, and it's pretty messed up because I was going down Cicero, and there were like by Party City there were like a group of black people just walking like towards Cicero or like by Cicero. They were just walking in the street, and like I saw like a truck stop and just stare at them, like watching them. And I mean, I do get that because of the looting, everything that's going on, but the fact that it's just like people in their head just assume like a group of black people walking, they're about to do it. Like at that point, I was like, you know what? If a person is doing this, now imagine when a cop does it. That he has a gun, like he has power over these people, which is pretty messed up. And I do want to emphasize, like, I work downtown, I interact with people, I mean, with cops, like, all the time, every single day I interact with them. Like, those guys are nice, like, not all cops are assholes, like people are saying. Like, these guys buy food for the homeless guys outside. Like, they're really nice. But at the same time, it's like, you just can't let your mindset, like, your prejudice get in the way of how you do your job.